Cory, this is a Vanderbilt basketball team, 15th right now in the country. Nice win over Ole Miss. I think some people might, say, hey, you should beat Ole Miss by more points than that. But I do feel like, a win is a win for this team. They stopped the bleeding a little while ago. What do you make of this team now as we're kind of on the back half, going into the back half of SEC play?
Yeah, you don't apologize for any wins
Absolutely.
in conference play. They're all tough. Look, and that was kind of a must-win for them because that was supposed to be a home game in Oxford and got switched to Nashville, and so you really got to defend the home floor. But the bigger point is, they lost those 3 games in a row, and we wanted to see how they would respond and what they would learn from it, and they did. They won 3 in a row since then, and so now they're 6-3 in the SEC. They're 15th in the country, and they appear to have bounced back from that bump in the road. Tyler Tanner continues to score points. And they continue to do it without Frankie Collins and Duke Miles. Duke Miles, missed another game, and this is a guy averaging upwards of 16, 17 points a game. They found that they can still do it and are still winning. I think they tightened up their defense a little bit. I think they got the rebounding improved a little bit because that's where they really got hammered some. And so, do you learn from your defeats? And I would think the answer to that is yes. Do I think that means it's their last defeat? No, I don't. But also Tyler Tanner today was named, one of the top 10 in the Bob Cousy point guard watch list.
Mm-hmm.
So, and more national honors starting to come that young man's way.
Do you think he has a case for SEC Player of the Year, or do you think he just the
Sure.
few games where he didn't really put up the numbers that you would expect him to put up might have kind of put him in the back a little bit?
Well, I mean, look, there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
And they're in the upper half of the division, the upper quarter of the conference, and he's averaging upwards of 20 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what did he have against Ole Miss? 23?
24, yeah.
Yeah.
24, yeah. I mean, he's the guy, and he's the guy on one of the best players on the team, and really, he's gotten better as they've gone along. When you get better as you go along, people, I don't think, weigh as much what happened at the beginning. Now he's not the big, powerful guy, and Vanderbilt's not Kentucky, and it's not Arkansas, and it's not Florida. So he's going to have those things against him. But if he continues playing like he's playing, he's got a pretty good argument, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Coach Mark Byington and his team, 3 straight losses. They've bounced back with 3 straight wins since then. The latest one over Ole Miss. Before we get to the question about where this team is right now, let's hear from Coach Byington.
People need to be distracted sometimes with sports, and it's one of my favorite things. I love watching sports and sometimes just kind of being a fan. This game was hard to prep for and hard to come into. We were dealing with a lot. Ole Miss was dealing with a lot, and to play the game today was probably challenging for both teams. We felt it. I'm in a situation with no power still and some guys on my team, and I know Oxford has the same issues. Challenging times for both teams. And, to play a game right now, you just got to figure out a way. I mean, I'm exhausted. Our team's exhausted. I don't think it's getting any warmer. But at the same time, hopefully we gave the fans here, a good game. I meant to say this. I had a view of Malik Diaz's shot, and I thought it was going in when it left his hands. And I didn't think the first one was going in. I had a good view of that one, and I knew that was wide. And then he got the ball in the corner, and I was like, oh, gosh, it's we're tired already. We can't do overtime.
Cory, there are 18 SEC games. We're 9 games in so far, 9 games left. This job for Coach Byington, what do you make of what he's been able to do with this team now, considering the fact that there's another set of adversity with the weather? I just learned from Patrick that he's been living in his office, I think, since for the last week or so. Can you explain just to Coach being able to kind of push all the right buttons, so to speak, here with this team?
Well, first off, I'm not going to feel sorry for the coach because you guys know that every coach is looking for a reason to sleep in the office. None of those guys actually like to go home. They live their jobs. That's what I've always known about coaches. They live their jobs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say Mark Byington likes to sleep in the hallway, but that guy likes to coach basketball. That's pretty clear. I don't think that's the worst thing that's ever happened to him. Look, we do. I mean, it's all over the Southeast. We have a tragedy, right now. We had hundreds of thousands of people without power. We still have people without power here. It's still cold here, and so we're still battling. So you were asking about the job he's done or where this team is headed? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the job he's done overall, and considering all of the adversity he has to go through.
Well, I mean, look, you've got a team that I think only carried over 3 players from last year. Yeah. And that was by choice, okay? He knew he had a good team last year. He went to the tournament last year, but that's not the goal. The goal is to go as far as possible. And so he wanted the same style of team, but a bigger team, one that could play better defense, it could rebound better. And so, you've seen that. And like I've said, they have faced some adversity, and I think that they would tell you that adversity is making them stronger. I think it's good to take some lumps along the way. Shea Ralph said it last week after they got drilled by the Gamecocks, that will make them better. And I think, this team coming back and winning 3 in a row, I don't care who it is in the SEC. That's terrific. So, I think as long as they keep kind of chugging along the way they're chugging along, they're 6-3. If they went 6-3 again in the back half and went 12-6, I think you'd have to be pretty darn happy with that.
Yeah.
I think if you get, if you're anything over 10 wins in this league, you got to be pretty happy with where you are. And, can you get Duke Miles healthy for the postseason? I think that, because, trying to replace 17 points a game is a lot of points to come up with.
Yeah.
And, every game or so, every other game, some guy's going to pop for you, but maybe not for 17, maybe for like 8 or 10. And so, they need to get that young man back on the court because he alleviates some of the pressure on Tanner and Nickel to really fill it up. I mean, you kind of know what McLaughlin and Washington are going to do for you, and once in a while, one of those guys emerges with like a 15-point night. But, they are what they are. They're 10-10 type of guys.
Yeah.
And so, he's done a good job. His team is who it is. We've seen that. Nothing is going to sway them off of that. And if they get pushed a little bit, they'll respond. And so, I think he has to like where they are. Is it good enough in March? That's why we play.
Yeah. And I mean, you talked about how you would like to see them go at least 6-3 in these last 9 games. I think it definitely helps that the quote-unquote brunt of your schedule is over with. I believe that they only have 2 games remaining against ranked opponents, but in my opinion, it should be 3 because I think it's a travesty that Texas A&M still isn't ranked yet, which is just it's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
Are they in first?
Yes, they're
first. 7-1.
It just makes no sense at all. AP voting has been crazy this year in football and basketball. But how confident are you in this team's ability to finish the year strong after going through that 3 games?
Yeah, I've got no reason to doubt them.
Yeah.
I mean, again, they're going to lose some games. But the job he did last year, the job he's doing this year, nothing is slowing Tyler Tanner down. All right. Duke, Devin McLaughlin continues to be Devin McLaughlin. Tyler Nickel continues to be Tyler Nickel. And, it's just a matter of keeping up the intensity on the defensive end of the floor and on the boards. Because those 2 things should never take a night off. We have seen them have games where they struggle to shoot the basketball. We weren't sure we were going to see that for a while when they were scoring 100 points a game, but we've seen it. They've got to have that maturity, and I think this is a pretty mature basketball team. Look, I watched them lose badly a couple of times when they played Texas and they played Arkansas, and they ran into buzzsaws those nights, and I don't feel like they came unglued.
Right.
They just didn't play their best, and those other 2 teams played really, really well those nights, and it happens. I mean, we all know what it looks like when the wheels come off the wagon.
Oh yeah.
Right? We've seen that before, and I don't worry about that with this basketball team.
Absolutely. We'll flip it over to the women's side because this is a team like the men. really nice run to start the season, went through some adversity, lost a pair of games to South Carolina and to Ole Miss, so no shame in that, obviously, but then bounced back with a nice win over Florida and a really tough stretch that is coming up right now. What do you make of this Vanderbilt women's basketball team right now, especially that superstar there in Blake's?
You know, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I think losing was the best thing for them.
Yeah.
You know, because that undefeated record can start to weigh like an anchor on you, and it certainly puts a bullseye on you, and that's certainly what happened to them when they went to South Carolina. So again, you want to see how they handle adversity, and you know, Shea Ralph was adamant that they would be better because of it, and she pointed to the one person who I thought she needed to point to, and that's the freshman point guard, you know, Aubrey Galvin, you know, because she's going to be the one that everybody goes after in the postseason. She's a freshman. She's got the ball in her hands. You know, she's extremely confident, but you know, when you've got the game in your hands, they're going to come after you. And, you know, if, you know, there was a game, or I can't remember which one it was earlier this year, Blake's got into foul trouble that they still managed to win without it. You know, that's the other thing. Are people going to try to go after her defensively? But they're still 7-2. They're 21-2 in the league. You know, third place, you know, tied with LSU. And let's face it, guys, the women's side is not like the men's side.
No.
The women's side is a gauntlet.
Yes.
All right. So if you're sitting where South Carolina, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, LSU, Texas, Mississippi are, you're really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. None of those teams has anything to apologize for.
Right.
All right. And all of those teams, if they showed up in that Final Four bracket, you wouldn't be surprised.
Would not be shocked. Yeah.
All right. So you're going to lose some of those games. And you know what? When you win some of those games, that really says something about you.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at what is upcoming here for this basketball team. And like you said, this is going to be a difficult road here. Top 20 team there in Kentucky, Oklahoma, Texas,
they all have
Georgia,
numbers next to them.
Every single one of them. I think the only team that won't there towards the end, just depending on. And I think obviously if they beat Georgia, they might take Georgia out. But literally every single one of them going into this week is all ranked. What do you feel like would be Coach's message as he talks to this team about what they're about to go through? Because it's not like the schedule has been easy, but it has been easier than it is on the back half.
I think Shea Ralph would just say to play them one at a time.
Yeah,
because that's what any coach. You can't play more than one at a time. But also you cannot get too high or too low. You know, because the reality is, if you lost all 5, you'd still be 7-7 in the SEC, and that's not a terrible record. But you know, you don't want to be headed in that direction. I certainly don't think that they'll be headed in that direction. You know, they've got Texas, and that will be, you know, a big time matchup. That one here in Nashville? I think it is.
Which one? The
Texas.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I mean, they had LSU here and they beat them, and it'll be very interesting to see how good of a crowd that they can get over there, because it really feels like since the football season ended, it's really picked up over at Memorial, and you know, some of that magic is back. But you know, the fact that they've got, you know, the LSU and the Mississippi skins on the wall already, I think that really helps their case that they're not a fluke.
Right.
You know, got there by not beating anybody. They've beaten people. There's 5 games there. I guarantee you they're gonna lose at least one.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's okay. How competitive are you? What do you learn from it? And you know, and I think the biggest challenge for Shea Ralph's team is, I don't think they're as deep as the men's team is. I don't think they're getting as much production off the bench. And so they've either got to stay out of foul trouble, or they've got to find a way to start getting some more production from some more people.
And you teed that up perfectly. Here is Coach Ralph on that defense.
It's important for a couple reasons. You said it, right? It's a lot of minutes, but Michaela and Aubrey, they don't like coming out. So they like playing, which is helpful, but we've got to give them breaks when we can, right? But the other part of it, it's nice to have kids that come off the bench with confidence. So today was a huge thing to me for our team, but also for Aga and Ava. Ava's done it a couple times to be able to know, this is my job. This is what I can do because I've done it before. So it's different when you get into March and you're like, hey, good luck. You know, you haven't played all year, but hopefully you can give us something good today. Finding kids that can do what they did today. Mitch is a good example of that as well. big moments during this season. They know what their job is, and now they're going to continue to focus and have confidence because they've done it. Not because we hope they can do it, but today they changed the game for us. So they've done it, and now we'll just keep building on that. That is huge. That's 2 more kids we can count on when we really need to.